wake up one morning and check your bank account. There's $437 left. Your credit card balance is $18,000. Your car payment is due next week. Rent is coming up. And the worst part? 3 years ago, you were actually doing pretty well. Good salary, nice apartment, a decent car, maybe even a vacation or two every year. But somehow, everything collapsed. And now you're thinking, how did I end up here? Now, here's the weird part. Some people hit this exact moment, and their financial life slowly gets worse. But other people, they lose everything, and 5 or 10 years later, they're wealthier than they ever imagined. Millionaires. Sometimes even multimillionaires. So the real question isn't, why do people lose money? The real question is, why do some people come back stronger than before? And here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not luck, it's not intelligence, and it's definitely not because they suddenly start making a lot more money. What actually happens is something much deeper, a psychological and mathematical shift in how they see money. And once that shift happens, their financial decisions completely change. The first big misconception. Here's the thing most people get wrong about wealth. They assume wealth is about income, but the data tells a completely different story. According to research from the National Bureau of Economic Research, nearly 80% of millionaires are first-generation wealthy. That means they didn't inherit it, they built it. Even more surprising, a study from Ramsey Solutions surveying over 10,000 millionaires found something shocking. The average millionaire income was around $100,000 a year while they were building wealth. Not $500K, not $1 million, about $100K. So clearly, income alone doesn't explain wealth. And here's where it gets really interesting. Many people who eventually become wealthy actually experience a financial collapse early in life, a failed business, debt, job loss, divorce, bankruptcy, something that forces them to rebuild from scratch. Now, you might be thinking, wait, losing everything sounds like the worst possible financial strategy. And yeah, it usually is. But for a small group of people, that moment becomes the turning point. The hidden reset button. Here's what most people don't realize. When someone loses everything financially, something unusual happens psychologically. Their financial identity resets. Let me explain. When you're living a comfortable middle-class lifestyle, your brain starts protecting that lifestyle. You buy things to maintain it. Better car, better phone, better neighborhood. Your expenses quietly rise to match your income. Economists call this lifestyle inflation, and it's incredibly powerful. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average American household earning $100,000 spends over 92% of their income every year, which means even people making 6 figures often save very little. Now imagine that lifestyle suddenly disappears. Job loss, debt, financial collapse. Suddenly, the illusion is gone. You realize something that most people never fully confront. Your lifestyle was fragile. And once someone sees that clearly, their relationship with money changes forever. A simple but brutal example. Let's walk through some real numbers. Imagine 2 people, Jake and Maria. Both make $80,000 a year. Jake lives like most people. After taxes, he takes home about $5,000 per month. His expenses look like this: rent, $1,800, car payment, $600, food, $700, insurance, $400, entertainment and subscriptions, $500, miscellaneous spending, $700. Total expenses, $4,700 per month. He saves $300 per month. Now, Maria goes through a financial collapse in her early 30s. She loses her job and racks up $30,000 in debt. It's painful, embarrassing. But when she rebuilds her finances, she becomes extremely intentional. Her monthly expenses look like this: rent,
$1,200. Car, $250 used car. Food, $500. Insurance, $300. Everything else, $450. Total, $2,700 per month. She saves $2,300 every month. Now here's where the math gets crazy. If both invest that money into an index fund earning 8% annually, Jake's savings after 25 years, about $285,000. Maria's savings after 25 years, over $2.1 million. Same salary, completely different outcome. And the difference came from a psychological shift triggered by financial failure. The psychology of scarcity versus awareness. Here's where things get really interesting. Most people think financial struggle creates a scarcity mindset, and sometimes it does. But for certain people, it creates something much more powerful: financial awareness. They begin asking questions like, why did I buy that expensive car? Why was I trying to impress people? Why was I living paycheck to paycheck making 6 figures? And once those questions appear, you start seeing the system differently. This is what behavioral economists call cognitive reframing. Instead of seeing money as something to spend, you start seeing it as a tool for freedom.
This is what the majority of people never realize. Here's the part most people never understand about wealth. Wealth isn't built through big moments. It's built through thousands of small decisions. Skipping the luxury apartment, keeping the used car, investing consistently, avoiding lifestyle inflation. Those decisions seem small in the moment, but over decades, they create massive gaps. For example, if someone invests $500 a month for 30 years at 8%, they end up with about $745,000. But if they invest $2,000 a month, they finish with almost $3 million. The habits matter more than the salary, and financial collapse often forces people to finally build the right habits. Story: the turning point. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a guy named Daniel. In his late 20s, he was doing great. Tech job, $120K salary, nice apartment downtown, brand new car. But his lifestyle expanded with his income. And then the company downsized. Daniel lost his job. Within 8 months, he had drained his savings and built up nearly $40,000 in debt. For the first time in his adult life, he had to move back into a tiny apartment with roommates. And that's when something clicked. He realized something uncomfortable. He had been earning more money than 90% of people his age and still had almost nothing to show for it. So he started rebuilding, but this time differently. He kept his expenses extremely low. When he got another job at $95K, he saved over 50% of his income. He invested everything into low-cost index funds. No fancy lifestyle, no expensive upgrades, just consistent investing. 10 years later, his investment portfolio passed $1.3 million, not because he suddenly became a genius investor, but because losing everything forced him to learn the rules. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I haven't lost everything. Or maybe I'm already in financial trouble. Either way, this is actually good news. Because the real lesson here isn't about losing money. It's about what people learn from losing money. And you don't need to go bankrupt to learn the same lessons. The 3 shifts that change everything. People who rebuild wealth after financial collapse almost always develop 3 habits. 1, they stop chasing income and start controlling expenses. This surprises a lot of people, but most wealth builders focus more on expenses than income because expenses are predictable and controllable. Income isn't always. If you reduce your expenses by $1,000 per month, that's $12,000 per year available for investing. Over 30 years at 8%, that's roughly $1.4 million just from controlling spending. 2, they automate investing. People who rebuild wealth don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. Automatic transfers, automatic investing, automatic retirement contributions.
because motivation disappears, systems stay. 3. They prioritize ownership. Here's the real secret behind wealth. Rich people own things: assets, businesses, stocks, real estate. Average consumers buy liabilities: phones, cars, luxury goods. One produces income, the other consumes it. And once you understand that difference, you start allocating money differently. Here is where it gets really interesting. The people who become wealthy after losing everything often develop something rare: financial resilience. They're no longer afraid of money problems because they've already survived them. That changes your behavior. You take smarter risks. You start businesses. You invest during market crashes. You think long-term. Meanwhile, many people who have never experienced financial hardship become extremely cautious. They avoid investing. They hoard cash. They delay financial decisions. Ironically, the fear of losing money keeps them from building wealth. The real lesson. So, no, losing everything isn't a strategy, but it often creates the conditions for a transformation. Because once someone truly understands how fragile lifestyle spending is, how powerful consistent investing can be, and how much freedom financial discipline creates, their decisions change permanently. And over decades, those decisions compound into wealth. Action steps you can start today. If you want to apply the same lessons without experiencing financial collapse, start with 3 steps. Step 1. Track every dollar for 30 days. You can't change what you don't measure. Most people underestimate their spending by 20 to 30%. Step 2. Create a wealth gap. Aim to keep at least 30 to 50% of your income available for saving and investing. This single habit separates wealth builders from everyone else. Step 3. Invest automatically every month. Low-cost index funds, retirement accounts, long-term investing. Let compound interest do the heavy lifting. Final thought. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Becoming wealthy usually isn't about discovering some secret investment. It's about fixing the small financial behaviors that slowly drain your future. And sometimes, the people who lose everything are the only ones forced to confront those behaviors head-on, which is why some of them come back stronger, much stronger. So if you're struggling financially right now, this might actually be the most important financial moment of your life. Because the habits you build during hard times are the ones that determine your future wealth. And once you truly understand how money works, you never look at it the same way again.